All right, folks, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. So this isn't say comparison per se. What I mean, I guess it is kind of a comparison with the stock ECU. There's things you can do to make it work. So trick it into working, which we didn't do. What I'm going to try and do is compare the Holley Dominator dyno sheet to the stock PCM dyno sheet. Let's get to it right after this intro. All right, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. I'm going to pop the dyno sheets up here every once in a while so y'all can see them, check them out, see what they look like, and all of that. I will go into some of the reasons why I went Dominator. Could I have went with a cheaper version, say a Terminator or something like that? Maybe. I am not fully versed in Holley ECUs. From what I've read, what I've looked up, done some research, and talking to Mac, what the Dominator can do is a lot of things for us. So we can take a lot of extraneous wires out of the way and neck things down, make things cleaner, and put in a lot of safety protocols to make sure Shake Bake stays safe in the future. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's talk about the dyno runs. So as you know, we did a dyno run with the stock ECU, and we continually ran up against a boost cut in the stock ECU, which was stopping us from going much further than looking at the dyno sheet. Looking at the dyno sheet for the stock ECU, we only got to a little over 65 or 6,100 RPMs, give or take. So definitely not reaching its full potential because, again, we were running up against that boost cut that's in the stock ECU. Yes, there are ways around it. Don't get me wrong. You can still continue to run your stock ECU with over 23, 24 pounds of boost. Your tuner has to do some tricks of the trade to fool the ECU into seeing less boost than you're actually making, which is sometimes kind of dangerous. If you're going that kind of boost, going with a third-party ECU is probably your best bet. But anyway, so we got to about 6150. I'm looking at the dyno sheet, and we made 1075 and 920 pound-feet of torque, which is phenomenal, which is really, really good, right? But we're missing about 600 to 700 RPMs that we could have been making more power. So this is the stock ECU that we went to Rocky Mountain Race Week on. And after Don getting some practice, getting things into his routine, we actually ran a 9.9 and some pretty crappy DA. I mean, we're talking 4,000, almost 5,000 DA at that point. And the grains were terrible. They were in the 130s, 140s sometimes. Not making excuses, just making sure you understand the entirety of those runs, vice just those runs in a vacuum. So we did run a couple low 10s as well, and some of that was still Dawn not driving the car the way the car could have been driven. So could we have gone faster on the stock ECU in this crappy torque converter? Yes, we could. But that's not this. I'm getting sidetracked. But that's not this. This is just to talk about the dyno sheets and the power we made, where we made it, and compare it to when we moved to the Holley. So back to that. So y'all saw the dyno sheet. So that's what was cutting us off. Remember, keep that in mind. So now let's bring up the Holley. Let's talk about the Holley dyno sheet and compare it to that one. And I'll bring both of them up so you can see them both. On the Holley, we could actually run it all the way out. The problem was with the last dyno run, we lost the RPM, and you can see it where it dips at the very, very end. It dips like this. That's where we lost RPM. So you're not going to see RPMs across the bottom. But that was about 6,700 RPMs. So as you can see, we made roughly 100 horsepower within that RPM range. And we made an additional 23 pound-feet of torque, which doesn't sound like a lot, but a couple pound-feet of torque is more than what you think. The torque really does make a difference in small increments. So gaining, 23 pound-feet of torque is a lot. And like I said, we gained about 100 horsepower because we could actually run it out the rest of the way. Now, I wish we could compare the lines together, but we can't because one's in speed and one's in RPMs. Because like I said, with the Holley, we lost RPMs because then that would have really told the tale, hey, these curves are basically the same right up until, the top end piece. And looking at them, again, comparing them, they look very, very similar. So could we have made more power on the stock ECU? Yes, but you have to trick it to be able to do that. And yeah, we made a lot more power on the Holley because we didn't have that boost cut to worry about. We just ran it all the way out. So there's a quick comparison of the two dyno sheets and kind of my discussion on, the ands, if, buts, and then talking about some of the Rocky Mountain Race Week runs that we did. And now talking about why the Dominator. The Dominator can do a lot of things and has a lot of inputs, a lot of outputs, a lot of safety features we can engage in. We can use fuel pressure. We can use oil pressure. We can use coolant pressure. We can use coolant temperature. There's all kinds of things we can use to keep shake and bake safe. And we're going to integrate all of those if we haven't already. Dave may have already done that because I think we already got those sensors to be able to do that. So you got to have a sensor. If there's a sensor out there that you can use it as a safety measure or you can log it. That's one of the reasons is there's many safety features we can integrate into the Dominator. Now, can you do it with like a Terminator or something? One of the smaller ECUs? I'm not really sure. I didn't do any research into like the Terminator or one of the other Holley ECUs. I just looked at the Dominator. The next piece, you can control everything, everything with the Dominator. We may wind up going with some nitrous, and we're only going to use it to get out of the hole and then cut it off because we don't need it at the top end. We've got plenty of top end power right now. So you can control the nitrous. You can come in by RPM. You can come in by gear. You can come in by all speed. All kinds of stuff you can do. Same thing with boost, right? You can control your boost through the Holley Dominator. You can, bring it in where you want to bring it in. You can dial it back where you want to dial it back. There's just so many things. I'm just barely scratching the surface of what the Holley Dominator can do. But these are the things that made it appetizing for me to just go ahead and get the Dominator and call it a day. Because really, could we go even further and make shake and bake a all-out race car? We can do that. We can throw a cage in there. We can throw the chute on there and make shake and bake an all-out race car. Then I would obviously have to get a truck and a trailer to start toting her around. I don't know if we're going to go that far. Right now, my plans are for shake and bake is to run a couple 8s, 2 or 3, just to say, hey, we can do it. And then wind up dialing it back to maybe like a 9.5 class. I'll have to look at the classes that are out there and the different races and see which one, makes sense. And we can have a 9.0 tune and a 9.5 tune. So that's what's nice about the 7-inch display that I'm going to get, Holley display that I'm going to get eventually, sooner or later. They're expensive. They're about $1,000. You can show everything up on that screen, so I can do away with my gauges, run it like a kind of like a Diablo, a little bit bigger Diablo. And you can do some fixes on the fly. I'm not going to do anything like this, but with the 7-inch, you can do some fixes on the fly. You have the opportunity for virtual switches and things like that with the 7-inch display. So that's why I'm probably going to go with the 7-inch vice the 5-inch, because the 5-inch does everything else but doesn't do virtual switches. So there's a little rundown on Shake and Bake. There's the comparison, folks. You can take it for what it is. I'm just giving you things that I'm doing so you guys know that I'm still doing something. We're still moving forward. It's just going to take some time. So the last piece of this for an update on Shake and Bake, I got the fuel pumps out. I sent pictures over to Ford to make sure my hat is capable of the triple pump upgrade, which I'm about 99% sure it is. Once I get confirmation from them, I'll send the fuel pump to them. They'll do their thing, add the third pump. We'll get it back. We'll get the triple pump in along with the FC3 controller. I'm going to get that as well. And then we'll be back in business. We can get back to Mac, put it on the lift, get the converter in, put it back on the dyno, and then we can make some ice runs and really see what Shake and Bake's capable of doing. I'm thinking well in the 12s. 12-15, maybe 12-20. I don't know. 50 is a lot to ask for ice, but you got to keep in mind, ice just doesn't cool down the air temp. It also creates more boost. So yeah, it's a double edge, and at that power level, adding 50 horsepower by using ice, I think it's possible. Let me know what y'all think down below. Let me know what y'all think about the Dominator versus the Terminator. Let me know what you think about the comparison. Is it a really fair comparison? I think it is, with the caveats that I gave it. But anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Just a quick video to let y'all know I'm still in the game. We're still doing things. We're still moving forward. We're progressing. And Shake and Bake's going to come back better than ever. So that's going to do it for this one, folks. Stay tuned for the next one. Adios.